Gina. Welcome or welcome back. This is my little corner of the internet where I chat with you about what I've been up to in terms of my knitting. So it has been about a month since I last recorded. I have been knitting during that time for sure, but it's during the fall semester for me and very busy as always, and so I'm on my fall break now and had a minute when I could pop on and catch you up on what I've been up to. So let's see, the last I talked to you, I was just about to go to the state fair with my mother to see whether I had won any prizes with my knitting. I entered a lot of knits. I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say like probably 10 pieces that I entered into different categories. And I did win first, second, or well, I think I got a fourth, mostly first through third on all of my items except one, which was not actually in the knitting category. It was like a Halloween category, and I entered a knitted ghost in there, and he did not win any prizes. In fact, he did not even get displayed. So, but it was really fun to see the rest of my knits displayed and for them to win prizes. And I actually won a best of show. So let me show you. So these unicorn mittens, oh, got them upside down. Unicorn mittens that I knit as a test knit for Sarah Kelly of Grey Owl Knits last spring, early summer, I think. They won best of show for knitting, so I got one of the big ribbons, which was very exciting. I wasn't really sure how the best of show won until afterwards when I was looking at the results, and apparently they do two best of shows for knitting and for crochet. One of them is for garments, one category is for garments, and one is for afghans or blankets. So yeah, so there were two knitting things that won best of show, and mine was one of them. I did not enter any blankets, so didn't have anything to enter there. So I had asked for people's input on what I should enter in terms of my pullovers, because they had a cardigan category and they had a pullover category, and I think I had a couple of cardigans that I had knitted in the last 2 years, but I went with the oh goodness, I can't think of the name of it. Oh, Spark, Andrea Mowry's Spark cardigan that I had finished in May. I entered that one in the cardigan category, and that was really the only one that I felt like, you know, looked like anything that could possibly be a prize winner. But on the pullovers, I had a few different ones that I thought looked fairly impressive, and popular opinion was to go with the Iris, which is definitely one of the sweaters that I'm most proud of. So that is what I entered, and it actually only won third place in the pullover category. So I made mental notes of what won, and next year I will definitely enter something cabled, because those were the winners there. So it looked like, I don't know, you know, I think this is one of those things that's really subjective as to what people think is the most challenging, but yeah, so next year I will enter a cabled item into the pullover category. And now I know, and I already have my cardigan. I'm already thinking like, this is the cardigan that I will enter. This is my Darius cardigan that I test knit for Jen Owens, and I talked about this in the last episode, so if you're interested in that one, you can check that out. Okay, yeah, so that was the state fair. So that was really exciting for me, and I will definitely be entering more stuff next year now that I've gotten a taste. And it's easier once you know what you're doing, where to take stuff, and like just what the whole process looks like. So, all right. So I have many finished objects to talk about. Not that many that I actually have with me, but I have knit a lot. So yeah, so we'll get to all of those. But first up is my EnolaV. This is my longest running whip that is finished today to show you. I have talked about this in several previous episodes from the summer. So this is the EnolaV by JST Niche, Jennifer Toland, I think is her name. Let's see, the pattern fits sizes 34 inch to 62.25 inch bust. I made the size 4, which is 43 inches. It calls for 1 to 3 inches of positive ease. So that was right on the money for 3 inches of positive ease for me in the upper bust. And I used Holst Garn Coast, which is like I don't think it's 50-50, but it's a wool cotton blend. And it's extremely lightweight. It is very light fingering. The colorway I used is Wisteria, and I love this color. I'm really happy with how this came out. So you just stand up and let you see. So it's got this cute little twisted rib detail that runs down the sides. There's not much to see in the back. Most of the detail is at the top, so cute little garter stitch detail. And then there's just like ribbing that runs around the neckline. So I really enjoyed that I did not have to do any finishing on the neckline. You just finish it off in, I guess this actually, it doesn't end in garter stitch. There is a little twisted rib on both the arm hems and the bottom hem. There is an option to do waist shaping, and I just got to knitting and completely forgot to do that because I had intended to do waist shaping. There are not bust darts included, but I did do my own bust darts. So there, you might be able to see a little bit of that. And I'm really happy with the that it lays pretty straight from front to back. There's a little bit of extra length in the back, but it is not nearly as bad as it normally is for me. And it would definitely be hiking up in the front if I had not added those bust darts. So I love this. I think it is super cute. I really like the amount of ease that I chose, and I love how drapey this fabric is. I really like this yarn. I did not love necessarily knitting it just because it's so light. It felt it was challenging to knit on the let's see, I didn't write down what size needle I used on this, but it could not have been bigger than a 4. I think that's probably what it was, if not a US 3. So, you know, the needles were not big, but also a little bit big for what kind of knits up almost like a lace weight. So they just felt too big for the size. And I was really worried when I first started knitting this and realized how light the yarn was. I was worried that I had chosen the wrong yarn and that I was gonna have a big mess on my hand. And I talked about it on here, and a viewer said that the Holst Coast does fluff up just like the Holst Super Soft and stuff. And so I did block it, and I did see that it looked much less holey and much less see-through after the blocking. And so I was like, okay, I'll just trust that viewer and trust what my swatch is telling me. And yeah, I think that it's totally wearable. I don't have on a camisole or anything under this, and I don't think it's too sheer. So really happy. We'll definitely be using this yarn again. It makes me sad that we have all of this tariff nonsense going on, because I don't know when I will get to buy Holst yarn again, but for sure I would buy this again when opportunity arises. Okay, so anything else I wanted to say about it? The top is knit. I don't remember a ton of the details just because I started this back in July. And so it has been a minute since I worked on the top, but that's where all the action happens is really just right when you're getting started, for better or for worse. You know, if you are looking for just a plain stockinette project, this is great for that, but there you do have to pay a little bit of attention when you're working on the top. So you start with these, like the arm details, and then you knit down for the back, and then you come back and pick up stitches and knit for the front. Knit those down, join those in the front, knit them down to the bottom of your armhole, and you are increasing as you're doing the front in order to create the V-neck and the sleeves. Yeah, I think there was an option to do, like you could add more sleeve to this, but I just wanted short sleeves, like the shortest option they had. And so I just added my ribbing right to what was there from creating the top portion, and did the ribbing and called it good. And then you just knit down until you get to the bottom, and there's a little bit of garter detail down here before you go into the twisted rib to mirror what's up top. And I just think it's super simple, but also just really nice. I like it. Would highly recommend it for sure. All right, moving on. I have another FO that I've actually like talked about before, but I just couldn't show them before, and those are my folk spell socks. This was a pattern by Briana Arlene. I tested it over the summer, and she just released it at the beginning of the month, and in time for Halloween knitting, Socktober. It's perfect. I was inspired by somebody else in the test knit group who chose really bright colors, and I was like, oh, that's really cute. And sorry, I've got a frog in my throat today. And so yeah, I was a little bit of a copycat. I used Stroll Glimmer for the black. You probably can't see, it doesn't usually pick up on film very well. But there's stellina in this, and so the black is sparkly, and then this color, this is all Knit Picks except for the orange. So this is Knit Pick Stroll Glimmer, which they don't have anymore, and this is Stroll in the color Sour Apple, Pucker, and this is Vibrant Violet, the purple color down here, and the orange is Cascade Heritage Carrot. I've complained before about Knit Picks' lack of a good bright Halloweeny orange color, and I guess I will continue complaining about it. I need to check and look in their new yarn line, the Melissa's yarn, and see if maybe they have an orange there that would work. Yeah, not too much to say about these. Loved the color work. It was really simple. There are only a few rows in like the bat row and the owl row where you need to do any float catching, but it's a very simple color work, and it just flew off the needles. I mean, these took like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. I love color work, and you know, have done a lot of sock knitting, so I can knit socks pretty fast if I am motivated and enjoying the pattern. So really recommend those. And okay, then I have many FOs that I no longer actually have with me, so I will just have to be inserting pictures over here. So let me scoot over so those can be stuck up there in that corner. First up is Telly Bean Knits. Stephanie Lotvin hosted one of her Halloween mystery knit-alongs. She did a cowl. I have talked before about how much I love Stephanie's patterns, and especially her holiday themed patterns. So when she asked if I wanted to do a secret test knit of the mystery cowl, I surely jumped on that opportunity. And yeah, so I couldn't talk about this one before, but now that the pattern is like all the clues have released, I can go ahead and show my picture. And this is, I think, maybe my favorite of all of the her Halloween cowls. I just think the color work is super, super cute. I love the ghost. with their little legs sticking out. I love the kitties and the pumpkins. I just think it's so, so, so cute. So I highly recommend that. I mean, I love everything Stephanie does, so this is not any kind of surprise, but I highly, highly recommend it. I also really like the lace at the bottom of this one. I thought the like spiderwebby lace was really cute. I will say it calls for that all to be one color. I actually ran out of yarn. I did not, I was playing yarn chicken. I knew I didn't have as much of my light pink color as what had been recommended, but I was like, oh, I can probably do it. I didn't. I ran out just like two rows, or like one row in the bind off short on my on the last lace piece, and so I had to figure out something else to do. And rather than rip back and do it all in the color, I just decided to do like the light pink for most of the lace, and then bind off in the dark pink. And so that most of the yarn in this is Knit Picks Stroll, because I like that base, for making cowls, because it's completely washable. You can dry it if you want to, although I wouldn't. I would lay this flat to dry for sure, but it's also super soft. So like, I know it's not gonna bother me or somebody else up around, their sensitive neck and face area. So yeah, so most of this is Stroll, but then the hot pink is Melissa's, because I had a skein of that I'm using on my Soxalotl socks. So yeah, not, I don't have it here to show me, so you can just admire it over there. Like I said, I think this is my favorite one. Very cute. I highly recommend it. The texture part of it was also very engaging. I don't know how Stephanie comes up with different texture stitches to try every time, but she does. And yeah, highly recommend it. I did not keep mine. That's why I can't show it to you. I have mailed that off to a friend because I already have a Halloween cowl, and I just, I don't feel like there's not enough cool weather in October here for us, for me to get as much wear out of that one cowl as I would like to. So yeah, so I just make these for the love of it. Okay, and then I wanted to show you guys, because I showed it to you before, I think I held it up, my Always Forever unicorn sweater that I made specifically for the state fair. Actually, maybe I didn't show that to you, because I probably didn't. I probably had already taken that to the state fair. Well, so you'll just never get to see it in person, sorry. I had showed you the poorly lit version of it hanging on my wall, but my niece came over, and so I got a modeled picture of a 5-year-old wearing the sweater, so you can see it was very, very cute. And that sweater did win first place in its category in at the fair, so that was fun as well. I actually had somebody who was at the fair like for completely other reasons, and they just happened to see that and saw my name on it and had notified me that they saw that. So that was fun. Okay, and then yet another one that I do not have, so it will be up here in the corner, and those are my Draco Manus mittens. This was a test knit that I did for Sarah Kelly, again, the one that designed the unicorn mittens that I showed earlier. So these were dragon mittens. They were modeled after a 15th century French picture of a dragon, and yeah, very cool. Like, Sarah just comes up with such interesting designs. She is definitely doing different things from what so many designers are. I knit mine up in Knit Picks Chroma Fingering in the colorways Bear is the like white color, and then Sedona was the gradient that I used. And I was a little bit annoyed because the Sedona, that ball of yarn had a couple of knots. Only one of them was not actually a knot, it was like a splice, where they had spliced it together, and it was the same color. And so I didn't realize at the time, but they had interrupted the colorway, and there was like a whole bunch more of the like dark burgundy color in the first mitten, like in the section of yarn that I was using. That section of burgundy was like a lot longer than it should have been, because they had spliced two different gradients together, two different sections of the gradient, but I didn't realize that at the time. And so I cut my yarn up and found, in order to get back to the same starting place for the second mitt, where I had started the first mitt. And when I knit it up, that section didn't have any splicing or knots in it, and the burgundy section lasted way shorter of a time. So I ended up with the top of the second mitt being like yellow orange, and I didn't really get into the yellow at all on the first mitt, and so that was kind of annoying. I'm not a person who cares too much about things being exactly matched, but since I had tried to make it match, that was pretty frustrating. So I don't have these to show because I already sent these off to another friend, and she said that she was not going to be bothered by the lack of matching. So that's good. So I was a little annoyed with the yarn, but I love the colors that chroma comes in, but I don't love the knots that you sometimes get in there that mean you don't get really full usage of the yarn. And sometimes they'll knot them back and the gradient will be going the wrong direction. Anyway, they can just be frustrating to work with. These mitts, I think I knit the size medium, I think, and I was off on both row gauge and stitch gauge, so mine were a little bit bigger than they were supposed to be, and they were a lot longer, but it was good that they were long, because they did not, I have big hands. I was making them to fit me, even though I didn't know if I was going to keep them or not, and they did fit me, but just barely. They were just barely long enough for my very long hands. So the row gauge being off was a good thing for me. I used about half of a ball of each of those yarns, so a little over 100 grams total. This is definitely not a beginner colorwork pattern because it's not a repeating pattern. Every row is different because you're making this really intricate dragon design. But in terms of having to catch your floats and stuff, there were really only a few rows where you had to do some serious float catching. But it definitely is a pattern where you have to have the pattern right in front of you. You have to be paying attention each row to what you're doing. So, but I love Sarah's patterns. She includes on her mittens the option to knit this little cuff, and you can leave that down for extra coverage, or if you don't want your wrist, if there's a gap between your coat and your gloves, you can fold that down to keep the wind out, or you can double it up inside of the mitt and then just have an extra warm wrist area. So I think that's really neat. Okay, next up we have the Gather hat. Again, I do not have this one on me because it has already been donated, but this is a Tin Can Knits pattern that I have had in my queue for ages and ages, because I just think that the smock stitch is really, really pretty, and so I finally got around to trying it out. I made my Gather hat out of Knit Picks Brava Tweed in a colorway called Rin, which I think was a screw up, because they have a regular colorway called Oriole, and so I think Rin was a messed up version of that, but I actually really like the Rin. And I made a Sari Nordland, what was that, the Billy pullover out of it. So I've used it for several different things. Anyway, so I was just trying to use up the rest of this ball of that I had, and made the Gather hat, and I worked on it. My oldest is in marching band, and so I went to one of his competitions and was there for several hours and worked on the brim while I was sitting there. It was super, super easy knitting, very transportable. I did not follow the pattern completely. I made an extra long brim so that it could be flipped up for extra warmth, folded up for extra warmth. Let's see. Yeah, what to say about this. I really, really enjoyed the smock stitch. I just think it's so, so pretty. I'll post a picture of the close-up, but after I did this, it got me looking at what could I, what sweater garments are out there using the smock stitch. And so I was looking at Petite Knit's Jenny jacket, I think is the probably the most popular one that popped up in my search. And you know, so I'm trying to decide, am I brave enough to do something that's all over? And the smock stitch is not hard at all, but you know, it's a little tedious on the rows where you are actually working it. But I felt like looking at the Jenny jacket, the smocked stitches seemed more narrow and rectangular. I really like the roundness in the gather hat. And I don't know if on the Jenny jacket, like if it's done differently or if it's maybe just like not blocked as hard, or maybe the smocking was done tighter so that the other stitches couldn't expand. I don't know what the deal is, but I really like the texture that I got in the gather hat, and I don't see quite the same texture in the Jenny jacket. So if you have any recommendations of a garment that uses the smock stitch that looks nice and round, let me know, because I'm definitely considering working on something to get to play with that stitch some more. So I don't have this one because I sent it off in a package of stuff for Warm Up America, a charity organization that sends knitted and crocheted items out to other organizations who are distributing them. So don't have that anymore. And then next up, I think we're getting close to the end of FOs. And this one I actually have with me, and that is the Instant Gratification Cardi. You are not going to be able to see anything on this, I'm afraid, because it's all black. Black is so practical, but it's also very hard to see. So this is just a very plain black cardigan. And let's see, I'll insert some B-roll up there of me modeling this and some video of it. But this was a design that I saw on somebody else's knitting podcast. I'm not gonna remember their names. It's like two Canadian women who do super long, like 3-hour podcasts together. And one of them had Carmen, that's her name. Don't remember the name of the podcast, but you guys probably don't. She knitted this, and she knitted it in Wonder Fluff, which is also what I knitted in. So this is Knit Picks Wonder Fluff, which is a bulky blown yarn. Mostly alpaca, but then like a nylon core. I've worked with Wonder Fluff a lot before. I really enjoy it. It creates extremely lightweight garments, even though it is bulky. So it's literally called the Instant Gratification Cardi. It's by Mini, I don't know. I'm terrible at figuring out how to pronounce things. Mini Knit Design. And it is a pattern that accommodates a this is not the bust size. This is the finished garment size, 47.5 inches to 76.95 inches. I knit the size 3, which is to fit an actual bust size of 38 inches. She has instructions on there to size down if you're between sizes. So that was the closest to my 40-inch bust. So like there's a lot of sizes that are intended to be accommodated because this has massive ease. In case you can't guess, it is designed to have a lot of ease. So yeah, if I haven't measured, because when I'm not test knitting, I never really go back and see like, did I actually hit the dimensions that I was supposed to? I'm just like, it works, it fits or it doesn't fit. And this one does fit. It was hopefully supposed to be 52 inches. Like I said, don't know what it actually came out to. The gauge for this is supposed to be 12 stitches to 4 inches. And I'm trying to remember if I actually even gauge swatched. I probably did knit at least a few rows to check, because I've knit Wonder Fluff before, but not at that loose a gauge. So I probably did do a not very good swatch, but something. I used basically the needles that were called for, although in the pattern she calls for 10 3/4. needles, like US 10 3/4, and that's not a size that's included in my set. So I'm not 100% sure what that is supposed to mean. Hopefully I wasn't misreading that and that was like millimeters, and not the US sizes. But yeah, I ended up using a US 10.5 and a US 11, and which the 11 was the called for one. This is called the instant gratification because there's really no finishing to it. Like you knit it all in one piece. So you cast on, and I wish I had thought about that more, but like, because I don't think of my cast on as being necessarily something that is ultimately going to show in a cardigan, but it does. And not that my cast on was bad, but I just might have been a little bit more careful if I had been thinking about like, this is going to be the final product that's showing. So you cast on for the neck, and this is a raglan construction. So you just set up markers and you are just increasing all the way around, and there is no button band or anything. You don't add anything on for the button band. Again, it's just what's on the edge is what's on the edge, and there's not any ribbing or anything. It's just intended to have a roll, like you just let the edge roll, and it looks okay. It looks fine. Yeah, so you knit that and you just knit, and then there's a like 3x1 rib, I think, or 2x1 down at the bottom, and then you cast on for your sleeves, or pick up for your sleeves and knit those. And there's a pretty long, like you're not gonna be able to see it all because it's in black, but the cuff kind of starts right here and goes down, and I knit my cuffs longer than what was in the pattern just because I have really long arms, and so I just started them where it said to, but then needed longer sleeves than what I think it was originally planning for, and so I knit my cuffs longer. And I also just knit the whole thing longer. So in the original version, it is extremely cropped, and mine's still pretty cropped, you'll see in the pictures, but it's not super cropped. Because I just wanted it to be a little bit more wearable for me, and so I needed additional length. And then, so in the original, my size calls for 3 buttons, but because I made mine longer, I have an additional button. So I have 4 buttons. I really liked that when you were working the buttonhole rows, you would work your buttonhole, and then you would also place a stitch marker on the opposing side, so that you marked where the button is supposed to go. That is so simple, but also genius. I don't think I've ever had another pattern where they had me do that. And I mean, maybe it's because often you're adding on the button band and you're knitting those separately, so you can't really do that. But I have knit a few where the button bands were incorporated, and I don't think that they had me place a marker. And yeah, so that made the button putting on process like so much easier than it normally is. Didn't have to measure, just sewed those on. And I used, again, you're not gonna be able to see this at all, but maybe if I take it off. I just used some buttons that were in my button stash that have a shank. They're kind of like almost geometric cut, definitely 3-dimensional buttons, but I thought they looked nice. I originally was thinking I would use like really large buttons for this, but when I started looking at the buttonhole, I was like, oh, my bigger like 1-inch buttons won't fit through the hole at all. So I had to go with smaller buttons than what I had intended to, but they work. And I think this will be really just a really easy sweater to throw on once it cools off. Right now, it is definitely not Wonder Fluff weather, but it will be coming eventually. Yeah, so that is the instant gratification, and it definitely was instant. I think I knit this in actually just 3 days. I knit on it maybe 4 days because I think I started it on a Friday, and I knit on it a lot over the weekend. Like it was sort of all I did, and then I think I had to finish it up on Monday, like part of a sleeve. So, but it goes really fast when you're working on, you know, huge needles. It is a little bit holy in the shoulder area, and I don't know, like it's holier there than it is in other places, and so I don't know, like more, when I say holy, I mean more gapey, see-through, and I don't know if I overstretched it when I was blocking it, or if my gauge is somehow looser there, or there's just more tension put on it when it's being worn in the shoulder areas, but it's a little gapey there, but this is not something that I'm going to be worrying about keeping out the wind or anything. It is definitely just meant to be casual, you know, warm up a little at work or at home or whatever. So anyway, it scratched the itch that I was having to make something, because I was in the middle of a lot of, well, little projects and then larger garment projects that were just taking a long time. So it was nice to get something done, and I would definitely knit it again. I would definitely recommend it to other people. I'm thinking it would be super cute in a fun color, like a bright pink. Yeah, so I could definitely see myself making that again. All right, and my last finished object, which again, I do not have this one with me either. I am test knitting the Gecko Mittens for Maya Tinks. She has a knitting podcast that I just happened to come across on YouTube, and she was showing these off, and I thought they were so pretty. Like they look really simple, but they're very, like, it's just very simple but beautiful in the way that the increases like twist, they go around up your palm and then around to the front. I really liked them, so I was watching out for that test call and volunteered quickly for it. And yeah, so I knit these Gecko mitts up. I used I was planning to use like Knit Picks Wool of the Andes or something, but when I was digging in my yarn bags, I just came across this light Lopi that I had picked up at the thrift store one time, just to see what it was like. And so I was like, you know, this is worsted weight, let me use this and get it out of my stash. The amount I had was a little under what was called for, but I made it. It was fine. And yeah, like these knit up in one afternoon. You know, we did this while we were watching the football game on Saturday. So yeah, these are very simple. I will definitely be making another pair. I do think that the light Lopi was not the best fiber choice, because it was so like it is super hairy, and the hairs kind of like the halo and obscure the beautiful like rib pattern that's on there. So I will make these again in a yarn that allows for a little bit more stitch definition to be seen. So we'll definitely be making them again. They like I said, knit up super fast, and I think they're very attractive. Oh, my cat has joined me. Yeah, I don't have those because I donated those to a day shelter that my church is connected to, and just to, I sent actually a bunch of hats to them as well, to, you know, like create a basket so that people could pick something out of there if they needed a hat or some mitts to keep them warm. Because even though the cold weather is not here yet, it will be coming soon enough. All right, so we're finally on to whips. I actually don't have as many whips as I normally do. I mean, I have whips, but like some of them have not had any progress made, so I'm not gonna bother to show those. But first up, we have one that I have been loving, and that is my Cozy Cottage cardigan, which is a design and testing from Wool and Pine Designs. It is 2-color brioche, so let me pull it up. It is not very portable, so it's gonna be a project to get it up here. I currently have 3 balls of yarn hanging off of it because I just broke one to change colors. This is my one sleeve that's done. Front. Okay, I might have a disaster here in a second, as I just threw a yarn ball across the room, so the cat is probably gonna go after it. Okay. it has, so it's 2-color brioche, and then it has these garter finishings in the shawl color. Cassian, nope. Okay. Yeah, so I'm calling this like my nutty art teacher cardigan, but I love it. It has been so fun to work on. Like, this is the most fun garment knitting project that I have worked on in quite a while. Mine is 100% scrappy. Like, I just gathered up a bunch of yarns that were kind of in lighter colorways and then a bunch that were in darker colorways, and just pull from the bag, you know, and try to, I mean, I look at it and try to decide whether I think it can blend in with what's already going on. But yeah, like, there is no careful planning in mind. Some of the other testers are doing much more sophisticated, coordinated palettes. So it would be really fun to do one in that kind of a mood as well. But I love this so much. Every time I do a scrappy project where I'm marling yarns, I do really seem to like it. I made a blanket several years ago that was 100% just pulling scraps, fingering yarn, and really, like, no planning, just knitting and adding in new yarns. And I loved that blanket so much. I loved making it, and I love looking at it now. So I don't know, I need to remember that for the future, that I really like marled projects. So yes, I think this is super, super fun. This is the inside. So it could almost be reversible. It has a different mood on the inside than on the outside. Anyway, it is super, super fun. I was worried that it was going to be really hard, or that it would take forever because it's all over brioche, but it actually has been flying. Like, I mean, it did. I have picked it up and put it down because it is not portable at all, because you always have at four strands of yarn hanging off of it at any given time, so you can only work on it, you know, when you're at home, and you have all of your supplies around you. I have been kind of stalled out on the sleeves, just because, like, the sleeves I'm finding more annoying to knit than knitting flat. I loved the knitting flat brioche. I don't know that I had ever done it before. I think I've only ever knit brioche in the round, and to knit it flat, you knit like with one color, in one set of colors, you knit across the front, and then you slide back and knit across with the other color, and then you come back the other way and come back the other way. And I don't know, I just found that rhythm really fun and really satisfying. And even though brioche should be slower because you're having to knit, you know, two rounds to create one row, like, it's still, I don't know, I found it to be very enjoyable. So I have been loving that one, and it was honestly, I was like, I may have regrets that I signed up for this, like, before I started on it. And then once I started on it, I have loved it. So, you know, the pattern's not out yet. I think it won't come out until probably, I think the test goes until November. So it'll probably come out end of November, maybe beginning of December. And I can tell you, I will for sure be recommending it. It is so fun. I'm making the size 5, which is 47 inches, and the pattern will be size inclusive. I really like that. Well, you do have to add on the edges, but like when I finish, because I've already done my shawl collar, when I finish my next sleeve, I'm going to be done, aside from weaving in ends for approximately 1,000 hours, since there's four strands of yarn, you know, like throughout. So there are a lot of ends, because every time you change colors, right, you're going to have ends. Anyway, so I have been loving that, and hopefully it will be finished in just the next couple of days. Okay. And then I'm also participating in the Sarah Shira's Imagine Landscapes, the gnome lady. I'm participating in her mystery gnome along. I love that she's doing a Halloweeny one this year, because I think that's even more fun than just the normal gnomes. So if you don't want to be spoiled as far as clues 1 through 4, avert your eyes, skip ahead, because I'm about to show my gnome as it stands now. So he's not completed, but he's up through clue 4. So again, jump on ahead if you don't want to see this. But here it is. So there's also some legs that are not pictured. I didn't bring them in with me. They're floating around in one of my knitting bags. But I have the top of the gnome. So he, if you can't tell, is gonna look like a pumpkin. And I've got my pumpkin color going. And I'm knitting he's called Gnumpkin, is the pumpkin version, because she's actually doing 2 for this one, which is very cool. Gnumpkin and Nettle. And Nettle is more like a witch. And I definitely might make that one this month if I have time. I will for sure make her in the future, because she's looking very cute. And yeah, I'm using, this is Knit Picks Hawthorne, and I'm not 100% sure what this was. This several years ago. I think this might have been, it was definitely some limited edition they did. It might have been, they were doing sock labs for a while where they would do like experimental colors and stuff for both Stroll and Hawthorne. And it might have been a set that came out then, but I have orange, a cream, white color, a purple, and I feel like there's another color that I'm forgetting. But anyway, in this almost like tweedy, and it's a perfect pumpkin color, I think. So yeah, so that's what mine is. This is just Stroll in like Silverton, or no, this may be Fawn, because I think this is left over from a sweater, and I'm pretty sure that color was called Fawn, just a brown. So it's all the same base, but different, not from the same set of colorways. And yeah, so I'm not sure. I think there's like 3 more clues left. At some point we'll have some beard and nose stuff happening, and then we've already got legs. So I'm thinking this is going to be one of the like really like round chunky ones that then has the legs like dangling off, because we've got long legs already made. So that's fun. And often I will like wait until all the clues have been released to start on mine, but I had some time, was looking for something small to work on, and so I went ahead and started on the clues. I don't actually like the mystery part of mystery alongs. Like I like seeing what other people are doing, but if you're not buying the pre-planned colors, you know, what do you call those? The sets that you can buy from dyers where they've already like chosen the colors for you. I don't like to pick my colors until I can see what it's gonna look like. So I like usually start those quite behind. Sometimes fully, like people have already completely finished it, so that then I can choose my colors and knit it. So, but I thought this would work well, like for, you know, for Gnumpkin, the pumpkin. Yeah, so those are fun. And then my other whip that I have shown before is my Loungey Raglan, and we have had significant progress made on this one. So let's see. I think this is, I need to put a marker in on the collar so I can tell which way is, what's the front and what's the back, but I've made a lot of progress on this. I'm getting very close to being finished. So I have one sleeve done and this one part way, and I just stopped when I got to the end of a yarn ball here because I wanted to do my arms and then decide how much longer. And really this is, I think I can pretty much just get to the beginning of round when I join this back and then put on the hem, because I'm doing a folded hem for all of the finishing on this because I just can't fathom doing rib in this boucle because it's hard to see, you know, your stitches. It's hard to see what's going on. So I don't want to do anything but stockinette. And so yeah, so I'll just do probably an inch of hem and then fold it under and then do another inch. So there will be like maybe another inch on this, and that's it. And I don't know that this looks super good, but I think it is going to be perfect for what I was wanting it for, which is just kind of a sweatshirt lounge around the house in. I talked before about the neck and that I've got kind of like a weird funnel neck happening. But I definitely might just leave it that way because I like that it isn't like right up in my neck. So, yeah, that's my Loungey Raglan. This is based on, Petite Knit's Zipper Sweater Light. But if you know that sweater, you can see that it looks nothing like the Zipper Sweater Light. It is really just using the numbers from that pattern for the raglan because I really liked the big oversized fit that it gave. So that's what I was using it for. And yeah, I will be really glad to have that done. Right now it is my only thing that's in stockinette though. So like I work on that in the morning while I'm waiting for my kid to get ready to go to school. Because it doesn't require a lot of brain power, but it gives me something to do while I'm sitting there. So yeah. I also have the Dune Drifter and the Umbria Summer Top on my needles. I have not made significant enough progress on either of those to bother showing them, in my opinion. So I thought, let's see, where are we? 51 minutes. I will just briefly say plans things that I'm thinking about, because as I am coming to the end of my cozy cottage cardigan, you know, I need to get something else big on my needles. So I really, I don't know that I'm going to make this one. But I want to show it just because I think it's so pretty. The Titi Kaya, sweater. I have no idea how they're pronouncing that. It's like, I think it's a combination of Holst Garn's Titicaca yarn and Haya yarn, because I think you hold both of those together in the original. I will not be doing that, but it's a pattern by Knit and Spritz, and I just think it is so pretty. Like I love the cabling, whatever that texture is, it's all over, and then I really like that kind of almost like a sweetheart v-neck. I think that would look, I like a v-neck on me, and I think that would look good, although it is pretty wide in some parts, which I wouldn't want it like falling off my shoulder. So I don't know, I think it's super pretty, and I haven't seen people like talking about it, and I don't know, I think it deserves to be talked about. I would love to see more versions of this pop up. But maybe some more specific plans. So I have this yarn. This is Provincial Tweed that I picked up from Knit Picks summer sale. It's the color Candy Apple, and I have loved this color since they first came out with Provincial Tweed. And so I want to make, my vision is some kind of cozy cardigan. It is like they call it a worsted weight yarn. Everybody who uses it pretty much complains that it's not really worsted, that it's more like DK, and I have used it in DK patterns before successfully, so I think it can go either way, I guess. So I would like to do something with this. I have not chosen a pattern yet. So I would like a cardigan. I would like it to be a v-neck cardigan because, again, like I like a v-neck on me. I think they're easy, like you don't have to keep them buttoned. So yeah, I would like it to be a v-neck. I have a strong preference for raglans or just not drop shoulders on me. I have done a number of drop shoulders, like this one right behind me, so like I can do it, but I would prefer not to. And then I'm thinking cables, because I think the cables, even though this is tweed, and it's a pretty drapey, limpish yarn, it's super wash. I do think, like, I've seen many projects made in this that were cabled, and I think that it looks good. So that's what I'm envisioning. Something cabled with a V-neck, and a cardigan, and I would prefer it not to have drop sleeve, but one of the options that I'm considering is Sorry Nordland's Book Club cardigan. I loved that since it first came out, but it is drop shouldered, so I don't like that. And also, like, a lot of people complained about like the cables not meeting at the front and the back, and I know somebody has written up instructions, but just if I want to do that, that will mean like going out and finding that information and following that, as well as the pattern. And then also, I'm not sure if she's ever resolved the issue of the actual amount of yardage that's needed. I would need to check, because that was a huge problem that people had, was people like having to order yarn, not just like extra yarn, but then go back and order even more yarn. Like, it was significantly short of the yardage needed for, it seemed like, most of the people that were making it. So I would have to look at how many yards people were using in their projects, I guess, and my size. So, but that's one I'm thinking about. I love the way that one looks. Yeah, the other one that I'm considering is Dark and Stormy by Thea Coleman. This one's like pretty old. I think it's from 2010 or 2011, but it has, it's a raglan construction, and it is, top down is another one of my very strong preferences. So both of these are top down. But yeah, it has a large shawl collar to it, and I don't know, on the one hand that looks really cozy, on the other hand, like, I'm not 100% sure that that's the look I'm going for, but I really like the cables on this one. I for sure have enough yardage for it. Somebody's actually used provincial tweed to make this one before. Anyway, so that one's a contender. If any of you have suggestions of sweaters that I should consider, like I said, the top down thing is, I'm pretty tied to that, just because it's hard for me to make sure that something fits, when I'm doing it from the bottom up. So yeah, strong preference for top down. Like, I don't know that I would knit it if it was a bottom up, even if it was beautiful, because I have looked through quite a few that I was interested in, but then sort of set them aside because they were bottom up. So let me know if you have ideas for what I should consider there. And then finally, I wanted to share some good news that I had. So back in the summer, I was participating in a summer tea make-along, and I had talked about that a few times, and I entered, you could only do 2 entries, and I had a bunch more than, that qualified for it, but I entered my 2, and I actually won a prize, which was really incredible. So this is from Kimber's Cozy Creations, this dyer, and this is called Signature Candy Floss, and she, so the prize was 4 skeins of candy floss, in any base, which is incredible. So I got the Luxe MCN fingering, the cashmere merino nylon. But yeah, it's just this really beautiful pastel. It's got a halo, which I'm assuming is probably from like the cashmere part of that. So I have 4 of these. Isn't that incredible? So a sweater's quantity. So I'm thinking about holding this with some white mohair that I have, and doing some cabled pullovers. I have a couple of cabled pullover patterns in my queue that I think that this would be really pretty in. So I'm kind of thinking about that. Like, to me, it would seem like very romantic and wintry, because I don't know, just these colors feel wintry to me. So that's super fun and so unexpected. What an incredibly generous prize. And then I randomly won, all of those giveaways you see on Instagram. I have entered lots of those over the years and never won, but I finally did win one. So, you know, they can happen. And this is from Julie Aslan. In the, I have no idea how you say this, Lizu base. And I got a vest quantity of these yarns. So this was when Thea Coleman was releasing her sfumato vest. She used this yarn to make that, and so Julie was doing a giveaway to provide a quantity in your choice of colors in that base that Thea used. And so this is 90% merino, 10% silk, and it's fingering weight. Yeah, it's so soft and it's so pretty. It's very nice. Yeah, so again, incredibly generous of Julie to do that, and I can't wait to knit this up. She's in Canada, and I won the giveaway like the week that the tariffs went into effect, and so I don't know. I think Canada is also having some kind of postal strike as well, so maybe that was contributing. But this actually, like, she mailed it, you know, not too long after I won it, and then it was in, like, being held prisoner by FedEx for a couple of weeks, and then actually got sent back to her. It said, I got a notification that said delivered, and I was so excited. I was like, oh, I didn't even know it had gotten out of, you know, customs prison in Canada, and went and looked around my front porch and couldn't find it, and then I got on to see where it had been delivered to, and it said, you know, back at the original place that it came from. So she had to remail it, and it came very quickly the second time that it got mailed. So that's really, like, so sweet and super fun. Yeah, what a special treat. And yeah, so I guess that is it. Thank you so much if you have watched to the end. I've had a lot to catch you up on, but I have really enjoyed getting to share with you. Please let me know if you have any great ideas for a V-neck cardigan for my DK/worsted weight yarn, and I would love to hear what your fall knitting plans are. I hope you have been working on something you love, and happy knitting. Bye!